I think we're going to get started. Thank you all for coming. My name is Chaim Shapiro. I'm the Director of Career Services at the Lander College of Arts and Sciences in Flatbush. With me tonight is Jody Smolin, who's Director of Career Services at the Lander College for Men. And this is LinkedIn for the Job Search. We really hope to go through the kinds of things you really need to know in order to be successful on LinkedIn over the next hour or so. Now, a couple of things before I start I want to mention is that one of the things that I do here is this is a live demo. So people have the opportunity to see how you use the functionality of LinkedIn in real time. I do like questions. What I don't like is talking a lot and not having people ask questions. So Jody Smolin is there, and she's going to be available to actually list your questions and read them to me at about every 5-6 minute intervals. And I want to try to show you the functionality of what she's trying to say in the questions while we're going through. So please, if you have questions, type them into the Q&A box, and we'll make sure to get to as many of those as we can. We have a lot of people joining tonight, so I just want to make sure that I get to as much information that people filled in when they signed up for the webinar as we can. Any questions you might have afterwards, we can definitely get to at a later time, or you can send me an email. So I'm going to go over here and type in, and this is the homepage on LinkedIn, as you can see right here. Just as a brief introduction, I think LinkedIn really moved to the B2B, business-to-business platform the last 3, 4, 5 years, especially after Microsoft took over, because in the United States, we're almost at complete employment. So they really didn't need to be a job search board. I think since COVID, there's really been a much more of a need for a job search board. And I'm going to point out a few things over the course of the evening that really showed I think LinkedIn is taking that move much more seriously and have added features I think that will help people with their job search. So what we're planning on doing tonight is the first section of the presentation is going to be going through the LinkedIn profile, how to maximize your LinkedIn profile to make sure your profile stands out and getting the attention you want it to get. After that, we're going to take a quick look at how to look for jobs and how to find people you know that might be working in those companies. Following that, we're going to do some content searches to be able to engage and find people who do have the ability to make decisions regarding hiring. And if we have time at the end, we're going to get into some advanced searches for people's connections and things like that. So the goal here is to get through as much of this as we can over the next hour. And again, I do want to reiterate that if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. Put them in the Q&A box, and I'm going to stop again every 5-6 minutes to try and answer those questions. So I really want you to be able to see the functionality and how things work on LinkedIn. So right now I am on the LinkedIn homepage. The button is up here at the top, and you click on that and you go to view profile. This is going to take you into the edit mode of your profile. Nobody else has access to this. It's only you via having signed into LinkedIn with your password before, and this is where you're able to do all of the editing that you need to do on your profile. Now, the place I want to start is what I call the LinkedIn triumvirate. The LinkedIn triumvirate are the top 3 things that I think are most important for people on LinkedIn. Places right there, that little pencil. I might have done that a little quickly, so I'm going to go back and show you that again. Click on this little pencil, which gives you the opportunity to edit your intro. And these are the top 3 things here on LinkedIn. The first thing is your name. Now, it would seem quite obvious that your name should be your name, but one of the things that I see very, very frequently is people try to put other things after their name. I have a master's in education. In the old days, I used to have Chaim Shapiro, M.E.D. listed for master's in education. I advise against people doing that now because one of the things that changed on LinkedIn recently is the search capabilities. And I think if you do put those things after your name, it does skew the searches. Plus, it also makes people harder to tag you when they're trying to tag you in a post. I would stay away from that. Now, you can't add a former name, married name. I know a lot of students that I work with, for example, their secular name might be Michael, their Hebrew name might be Yitzchak. I think you can put that name Yitzchak there under the former name tab and include that so people know you. But this is really so people can identify you as even people who you might not have spoken to in a while. The next thing I want to talk about, the second thing that shows up everywhere you show up on LinkedIn is your LinkedIn profile picture. So really what you want to have here is a professional headshot photo. The most common question I get is, what should I be wearing in this picture? And the answer really depends on what you're applying for. I would wear what you would want to be wearing at a networking event if you were to meet the CEO and the top people at your company. That's going to look very different if you're going to JP Morgan Chase versus if you're going to work, for example, at Facebook or even LinkedIn, where you might want to be wearing something much more casual. So that is the picture. Right now, the most popular pictures are headshots with a dark background, a little bit off center, which is what I have here. Worst case scenario, just take a picture against a white background if you can. What you don't want to have here is a logo or even a picture at a wedding where you're sort of cutting off and it's a person's arm hanging over your shoulder, which I see all the time, is really worth investing in a professional headshot photograph here because it really does portray you in the way that you want to be portrayed. In just a moment, I want to show you an addition that LinkedIn added to the profile. Just go here and clicking out of this just for the sake of showing, and this is brand new. I think today they launched this, and it's not available for everybody, but right now they have this new thing where you can actually put a frame on your photo that says open to work. And that would allow people to know that the person that they're seeing is available for jobs. Now, the question people ask me is it something they want to put on their profile? Now, I think there are a couple things to take into consideration here. First, LinkedIn tried this about 7, 8, 10 years ago during the first and the last recession, and they had a badge that you can put on your profile also that said people were looking for jobs. Unfortunately, at that time, that was used against candidates. So I recommended people not do that at that time. Now, it is possible things have changed, and nowadays people are more open to understanding because of COVID that people are looking for opportunities. My advice is when this rolls out, you might not have get it yet. Give it a couple of weeks. Let's see how people have and what kind of results they get from it. If it's working well, then I would say to use it. If not, you might want to stay away from it because in the past, it did not work well. Again, it doesn't mean that it won't in the future, but in the past, it did not. Now, I want to point out the next thing here. This is called your LinkedIn headline. This is probably the most important real estate in all of social media. Wherever you show up on LinkedIn, this is going to show up with you. And I want you to be able to tell me, if I know nothing besides your name and see your photograph, what do I need to know about you that sells me? What do I need to know about you that makes you say, you know what, I want to find out more about this person? And that's the kind of thing you want to put here. You can put actually more characters. This is one of the things LinkedIn just extended the number of characters here. So you can add more characters. It used to be 130, now it's over 200. The idea is what defines you? What do people need to know about you? You want to put that information down there. So when people see your name and they see your photograph, they're actually able to see who you are and why they should pay attention to you. Now, I separate different ideas by this. And because this is the services that I have to offer, that's why I've chosen that particular thing to describe who I am. For students, it could be things like not just that you're a student at Touro College, but you're an aspiring accounting professional with experience in GAAP. Give me more. Let me know who you are. Don't go with the default here. Make sure to give me a good description of who you are. And I want to pause for the first group of questions now, if I can, if there are any.
So there's one question. Someone wrote in, I struggle with a captivating headline. I've tried different headlines. What do you suggest?
So I think it's hard to write a headline because it's hard for anyone else to define who you are to somebody else. What I would do is look at other people in your profession and see what they have and try to come up with something that really sells you. Look, if you're going on an interview, people are going to ask you, tell me about yourself. Those kinds of skills can be the basis for how you do it. I wouldn't list them as skills, but try to think of some way to present yourself. What do people who are looking to hire for your position, what do they want to see in candidates? Those are the kinds of things I would generally tell people to put there if they can. So try to think about it. You can change it if you want to. You're not stuck with what you put there, and you can change it a little bit later. But try to think of what really sells you, really makes you stand out compared to other candidates. Because if people see nothing else besides that, you want to make sure they say, "Yes, I got to click on this profile." It's a very important thing. Any other questions there, Jody? Or we can move on?
Oh, okay. Manuel asked, "What do you put if you're not sure what you want to do for a career?"
That's a great question. So if you're not sure, I think you need to choose an idea about what your brand is. People need to set up a personal brand on LinkedIn. This is who I am. This is what I bring to the table. So even if you're not tailoring it specifically for a job, what skills do you bring that solve people's problems? What skills do you bring that are marketable to other people? And those are the things that I would put down. LinkedIn does not do the idea of having multiple positions and jobs well, and multiple expertise even, but I would try to get as close as possible to what sells you in the best possible way. Okay? I'm going to move a little further down this here. And you'll see here, I show my education in my intro. We'll get to that in a little bit. And you also see here that I've chosen, let's go cancel. I've chosen, even though I lived in a small little place in Long Island, to choose the New York City metropolitan area as my location. The reason I did that is because much more people are familiar with the name of New York City than they are with West Hempstead. And I think that gives more credibility to my profile just by having that there. So if you have a choice, I definitely choose something that people are more familiar with. In addition, you want to choose your industry. So mine is higher education. I don't like this on LinkedIn because they lock you into something. You have to choose one of their choices. As far as I'm concerned, you should be able to put whatever you want in here, but choose the one that's closest and best represents who you are and what you want to do in terms of your industry. And again, you are locked into what LinkedIn gives you. There's really nothing we can do about that. And you'll see here also that I do list my birth date here. If I can scroll down a little bit further, it's not actually scrolling down now, but my birth date is listed on here. Maybe I'll show it up to you a little bit higher because it's not scrolling down further. So just show you here at the top, this is my LinkedIn background photo. I think it is very, very important not to use the standard blue background here. This is another opportunity for you to promote your brand. Who are you? What do you bring to the table? Now, because I'm trying to sell myself as a person who gives excellent LinkedIn workshops, I have a picture of myself giving a LinkedIn workshop. This gentleman right here, this lady right here, sell me better than I could ever possibly sell myself because they're showing that they're very interested in what I'm doing. So I think it is important to make sure that you put something that helps promote your brand. If you don't have a brand, you can email me later. There are a couple tools that I have about creating a personal brand, but those things are important because you want to make sure that everything on your LinkedIn profile does promote your brand. So before I click out of that, I thought I saw there was one question.
Yeah, someone asked, what if I do not have a current position?
If you don't have a current position for the background or for the headline?
No, well, they just asked it now. So I think
Okay. So yeah, so if you don't have a current position, I would say, for example, I've seen people in IT put computer technology stuff on here. I've seen people put fancy QuickBooks stuff up there. Journalists put like an old printing press, something that really sells your brand and who you are is what I would go with if you can't think of anything else. Moving along here, I'm clicking out of this, discard, because I didn't make any changes. Next thing I want to show you is, you see here I have 500 plus connections. You do want to get to 501 connections. The reason for that is whether you have 501 connections or you have, like I have, I'll just show you this here, I have 25,000 plus connections. People will just see that 500 plus number, and it means to people that you're a good networker. There are some ways around this for the super users, but for the vast majority of people, get to that 501, so people see 500 plus, and that way people will know that you're a good networker. And the next thing I want to focus on is the contact information. So you need to scroll over to contact information, click on that, and this gives you the opportunity, this little pencil, to edit those things. So you see here, I have my own personal website. Now it's important, I think, if you have a website, and if you don't, first name, last name is a great website to have. If you add a website, choose other as the choice that you want to use is what kind of website. Just to show you this here, I could choose personal, I could choose company, blog, but look what happens when I choose that other button. It gives me the opportunity to put a description in. Because I want to describe to people that the point of my website is for them to book LinkedIn workshops, that description goes right in there. And the only way to get that is if you actually use that other tab. So I would say use that other tab, make sure people see exactly where you're sending them with that website. Okay, you see here also, I do have my cell phone listed on here that people who are connected to me can see. Yes, I do get spam calls, but I get spam calls anyway. So I think to me it's worthwhile to have that up there, and I just screen out the spam and respond to the occasional very, very important call that I'm getting from people. Emails, you could actually in a couple places add your standard email, work emails, and other emails. The last thing I want to show you here is, this is what I meant to show you with the birthday, that I list my birthday and birth dates and not the year. And the reason I do this is because people see, my connections see my birthday, and they usually send me a birthday message on July 19th every year. Great engagement opportunity to talk to people and get them potentially interested in my services. I don't include the year because the year is part of a security choice for a lot of people and a lot of security questions for websites and whatnot. So putting the day and the date I think makes sense, but I would not put anything else up there. You also see I don't put my address up here because I don't want people showing up at my house. So I think I did see there was another question that came in.
Yeah, somebody asked, do employers shy away from grad students?
I don't think employers shy away from grad students necessarily. I think the concern might be whether the person has enough time while they're in grad school to do the kind of work that needs to be done. Like people in law school per se might be too busy, or medical school might be too busy to do something else. But I was working full time when I was in graduate school for education, so I think it depends on the major, and they just need to be confident that you're going to be able to put in the time at work. So I don't think that would necessarily be a problem. Okay. So the next thing I want to move through over here is making sure you set your public profile URL. Now I'm going to click this little button right over here, and that's going to take me to another page. Now your URL defaults to something like linkedin.com/in, a whole bunch of letters of your name and a bunch of other numbers and other things. Go in there and change that. Try to get your first name, last name there if you can. If you have a more common name than Chaim Shapiro, You could do Chaim-Shapiro, Chaim-Shapiro-, Chaim_Shapiro. This could be a place where a CPA could put the CPA designation afterwards, but try to get something that is as close to your name as possible, because once you click save, that's going to become the URL to your profile. And one of the things you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to use that as a signature line on your email, which I do all the time. If somebody's interested in engaging with me, they can. If not, there's no harm, no foul there. So I think it's an important thing to do. One more quick thing to show you here before I get into questions. So my public profile visibility, I have everything available to all LinkedIn members so as not to keep people away from my information. But take a look at this here. You see this over here, I have my summary section. If I wanted to change this, I could change it very, very quickly by clicking this button right here, and this disappears. Just to give you a little bit of the description, and this comes back. This is what people see if they actually log or email your name, sorry, if they Google your name outside of LinkedIn and they're not logged into LinkedIn, they're going to see this page. You want to control the information that you put up there, so the best information that sells you the best is what's put up there. You see right here, when I talked about that website, look at that. The only thing they know about my website is the description. So if somebody comes from outside of LinkedIn and Googles my name, they're going to see the fact that they can book LinkedIn workshops, which sells me, again, much better than I could do it any other way. We had a couple questions?
Yes, Amanda and Maria both want to know how and where you add your Twitter account.
So Twitter account, you actually, they have that under contact, but you actually have to go into your settings to do that. If you email me afterwards, it's a great question. I'll show you how to do that. I'm not going to go into my settings now because I have to put it in my password. But in your settings, it gives you the opportunity to do it. And just so you know, under contact information, there is a place for it, but they don't make it easy to put it in there under edit. So I'll show you that afterwards. If you email me, I'd be happy to show you that. Were there any other questions?
Actually,
and by the way, it's a great idea to put your Twitter account there. Twitter is a much better engagement tool than is LinkedIn. So if people can engage you on your Twitter account, that's a wonderful thing.
So someone asked, what's your email? They'd like to follow up.
Okay, well, connect with me on LinkedIn and chaimshapiro@gmail.com. My first name, gmail.com is the easiest one, but you can actually find that under my contact information over here as well.
Great.
So just find that right there, and you want to copy that down, you can, and just send me a connection request. I'll be happy to accept that. Okay, next thing, this is another change LinkedIn put in recently that I think really moved them more into the job search kind of field. You can actually put that you're open to job opportunities. This used to be much further down on your profile. Now it's way up over here. Now, if I click on this little pencil, I can set the job titles, and I can add things here and job locations that I'm interested in. This gives recruiters and other people the opportunity to find me and see based on their searches that I'm looking for Director of Career Services jobs, campus recruiting manager, whatever it happens to be in New York. You can set this by, if I pull down here, full-time, contract, part-time, internship, volunteer. I have this available only for recruiters. You can set it up so it's available that all LinkedIn members see it. If you're really looking for a job, I advise to have it set for all LinkedIn members. Now, LinkedIn did make a change to this that I don't like. Up until about 2-3 months ago, I could actually put down here where I was in my search. And what I had down here was that I'm not actually interested in actively looking, but if somebody called me up and said they'd offer me $1 million a year to come work for them, I would be open to consider that if they actually made that offer. They don't give you the opportunity to do that anymore. So the only reason I really keep this active right now is to make sure that I can use it as an example when I'm working with students. But if you are looking for a job, this really is the place to put it, and make sure that that is available to all LinkedIn members, and click save after you're done putting that in. I thought I saw some questions come up.
Yes. Somebody asked, how do you get bullet points or arrows like you have in your profile?
So you have to cut and paste it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit more when I get down. I just cut and pasted into this form right over here. Cut and paste off of somewhere else, and I put it right in there. So that's the best way to do it. LinkedIn doesn't have a bullet or an arrow feature, so I just cut and paste it in there. It doesn't look perfectly natural on there, but I think it works well enough to use. Okay. Just moving a little bit further down the profile, this is the about section. For a lot of people, this is going to be the summary that you put on your resume, but it gives you the opportunity to include more information there. Now, I was once giving a LinkedIn session, and I said that nobody liked Seymour, and there was a person there named Seymour who got very upset at me. What I meant by that is very, very few people are going to click this button here that says Seymour and see the bigger description about your about section. The vast majority of people, if they see this part over here and that's it, that's your best stuff, leave it up there. Very few people are clicking on this. But I do have other information here, my email address, my website, things that are searchable so people can find them if they're very interested. But make sure that important stuff is there above the folders, I like to say, because nobody likes seeing more, and very, very few people are going to be looking past that. I think I saw another question come in.
Yes, somebody asked, first of all, is this a LinkedIn Premium version that you're using?
So I use the LinkedIn Premium version, but everything that I'm showing you today is on the free version.
Okay.
You do not have to pay for anything on the free version. And people normally ask me at some point if it's worth the premium version. Usually for job searchers, it's not. The only value is if you're getting a lot of profile views, you want to follow up with them. 99.9% of job searchers are not getting those number of profile views, and it's not worthwhile to pay for that extra premium. So I do have a premium, but it's not worthwhile for most job seekers to pay for the premium. Save that money, save on your college loans, and don't spend it over there. Now, this is another section that LinkedIn really changed over the last couple months that I think makes it a lot easier for people to portray who they are and make themselves more marketable people. You can feature things that show up very high here on your profile. So you see here is a post I made about this actual session. People can click on that if they're looking on my profile. In addition to that, again, I try to say that I can give a great LinkedIn workshop as opposed to just saying that. People can actually click on this and see a video of my actual workshop. So I think this is a very powerful way to show people who you are and what you can bring to the table. You also see here, I have a copy of my resume that's embedded right in here, and it looks like a resume. That way people can view it and download it right onto their desktop. I use SlideShare. SlideShare is owned by LinkedIn, and it plays very nicely with LinkedIn in the sandbox, I like to say. And that's where I host all of my documents. So if people go to my SlideShare account, they'll see this and other things. And the way to add things, click this little pencil over here. These are the ones I currently have, but you can move things around simply by pulling up, down, and clicking done. And the add button is where you were able to add more things that you want to add: posts, articles, links in media, etc. Now, if you don't see these options on your profile, just go to add profile section. They'll be under here, and you just add those to your profile, put them in. That can be true about the about section as well. Any questions about the featured section or putting up your resume or what kind of things you need to put there?
So one person asked, should we make our resume and cover letter available?
I don't know about a cover letter so much because the cover letter will be too generic. I really like the idea of having a resume on here that people can download onto their desktop. Not everybody is tech savvy, and if somebody who's looking at my profile says, gosh, Chaim Shapiro is a great guy, and they can see that my resume is up there and host it on SlideShare and download it and send it to people who are not techies, I think that can be very valuable. I also like the idea of somebody can come up with a video resume that they're ready to come up with and post it on here, or testimonials from customers or something. Those will all be great things to put in here, but also projects, presentations, anything like that can really help expand who you are and let people see a broader perspective of who you are. But this is featured. My sound out there for a sec. Did sound come back?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I
sound
hear
checked out
you.
for a second. I apologize for that. But it really allows people to see who you are and what you bring to the table. So I'm going to keep moving further down here, down the profile. By the way, if we get a chance to do this, you will actually see activity is ranked much higher than it used to be. We can talk about that later if we get a chance. The next thing I want to show you is what you do to show your work experience here on LinkedIn. Now, right over here, you see I've been at Touro College for a very long time. And the opportunity to add a new position will be up here. This is the edit mode. Now, a couple of important things here. So I have the name of my position, employment full-time. Now watch this. You see this little Touro logo here? Look what happens when I get rid of this E. That logo just disappeared. It is essential that when you're actually putting in the company you're working for, to sync it with that, Touro College, and then click save. If it doesn't sync, people will not have that associated with Touro College, and they won't be able to see that you're actually a member of that particular place. Make sure to sync that and click save. I turn this off. I don't want to share this information with my network because then people just get a message that I'm working at Touro, which I've been doing for a long period of time. A little bit further down here, you can actually see, here's where I put the bullets in. And I just cut and paste these right in here as opposed to having a bullet feature on LinkedIn. This is kind of stuff you can put right off your resume. In addition, you can put some rich media content here as well if you have something that's more specific, directly related to your job. Now, one of the other changes that happened recently is you can actually show that you've had multiple positions at the same employer. So you see here, I can show the progression of multiple things that I've done here at Touro. The trick here is you got to make sure the dates match up, because this one ends July 2016. And the next one up starts July 2016. If I put this as August 2016, it won't show this continuity here. So it's very important to make sure the dates do line up. And it's a great way to show that you had multiple positions within the same company. Any questions about that?
Not on work experience, but we have a few questions that came up from previous sections if you
Okay,
want to, you have
sure.
time. So one person asked, what does the providing services come from? Where can that be found? That's
Providing
Julianne.
services, yeah. So that's usually I don't talk about that in this session. Same thing. If you go to the ad profile section, you can find that and add that there. I'm not gonna have time to talk about that right now, but that's something usually that people who are providing services like LinkedIn services or accounting would add something there to let people know if they're going to be able to do that.
Okay, and one person added the open to work banner earlier today. How do they remove it? He asked. That's Matthew.
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that yet. I think it's probably because I don't have it yet. Because I'm guessing it's going to be under filters under your photograph. There's a place the same way you put it in there. It should give you the opportunity to take it out. Under photos, I'm assuming this is how they're going to do it because I don't have access to this yet. But I'm assuming. Let's see if it lets me do it. I'm assuming it's going to be under filters. It's not working at the moment, but I would say try to take it out the same way. By the way, you can use it as a test. It's not the worst thing in the world. I just think that until people have a better idea if it does or doesn't work, I would probably try to stay away from that. Okay, I'm just going to move on here. I have multiple jobs listed here. No reason not to put your previous jobs. Only people who are very, very interested in you will look at this and take a look over here. I even have a job that I had a lifetime ago where I was hauling furniture and doing those things. To me, it gives them a broader perspective of who I am. I wish I could still haul furniture at this age, but I can't. But I think it gives people a broader perspective of the hard work that I've done over the years. Okay, next section is your education section. So you see here, University of California, Riverside was the last place that I went. And same thing here. You want to make sure to sync it with UCR to make sure that logo shows up. My Turo people, make sure to sync this with Turo. Now, here's an interesting thing, because if you look up over here, you'll see that it lists UC Riverside as my education, which is the way it should be. But a couple of years ago, when my Loyola Ramblers were in the Final Four of the NCAA tournament, what I did is I just scrolled this up over here, changed these two, and this shows Loyola University here, because at that time was much more of a name brand because everybody was talking about the Ramblers in the Final Four. And going under your education, you could also include some bullets and things about what you did there. Here's what Speaker of the Student Senate and other things over there that you can put in what you did and the dates as well. Are there any questions about how to use or anything about education?
Nope, they're still
Great.
asking previous ones. We're good.
Okay, good. So I'm going to go into the skills section. I went a little bit too far here. Now you have an opportunity to put up to 50 skills on here. The way to add new skills is to click Add New Skill, and this is searchable. So I want to put in database for data analysis. I can click those and put those in. The question that I always get from students is, how do I know what to put there? So I came up with a little bit of a hack as to figure out what to put there. Let's say, for example, you wanted to work at a company like PwC or PricewaterhouseCoopers. A lot of our Turo students are currently working there. If I go to their employer site and I go down here to where it says people, click on that people button right over here. This is going to actually take me to a searchable thing here where I can say, all right, let's see what skills people at PwC put down. And these are the skills most listed by people at PwC. Excel and Office, I'm not so concerned about. Accounting, management, these are the skills that you know people at PwC have. And the great thing about this is you can actually go in and make it even more in-depth to the search. If I want to know what people in economics are doing at PwC, I can do that and see those skills and how it differs as well. So it's a great way to see what skills, financial analysis, accounting, again, a great way to see skills. What I usually advise people to do is to find 2 or 3 or 4 companies within their profession, triangulate around those, and try to use those as the basis for the skills that you want to add to your skill section. Now, also important, don't put the skills down if you don't have the skills. Obviously, you put the skills down if you have the skills. And if you don't have those skills, it might be a good idea to try and get those skills, because those are skills that are probably most marketable. One other quick thing I want to show you here with skills is you're only able to pin 3 skills at the top. These are the 3 skills that I chose to have here at the top. If I go into the edit button right over here, you will see these 3 are pinned at the top. I have a whole bunch of other skills listed over here, but just like Seymour, very, very few people are going to see that if they're not pinned. If I want to change something here, I would take career development, unpin it, and then pin social media, click save, and that'll move social media up to the top here. So you want to make sure that your top 3 skills are listed there. And by the way, order them. Your most important skill, I'm trying to sell LinkedIn, put that first. If social media is more important to you than resume writing, change that. And always make sure to click the save button when you're done to highlight those skills. But even if they're not top 3 skills, put those skills in there because they are highly searchable and people are going to be looking at it when they're doing searches for people that have particular skills with particular criteria in school. So you don't want to lose out on people finding you because you didn't put the skills in. Any questions about skills?
Yes. Is it worthwhile to attain skill badges on LinkedIn, says Elisheva?
Great question. So I'm not a big fan of badges in general. There's some people who live and die by badges. I don't know how much that means. And the question always comes down to, do you think that if a company sees one person or 2 people and they're exactly the same and one has a badge and one doesn't, if it's going to make a difference? Perhaps, but I don't think it makes that much of a difference because it's really hard to tell what the badge means. So LinkedIn says I'm an expert, so does that really mean anything? So I don't think it can necessarily hurt. I wouldn't spend too much time and effort into getting them because I don't think they add the kind of value that people tend to think they add. There are a lot of companies that are really into badging and they try to sell it, but I think it's a product that really hasn't reached the point. And I think, as we move into the future and jobs move more into real specialization, that might be more valuable. Any other questions on skills?
Yeah. Altaz asks, how do you get your skills endorsed?
So people have to actually go to your profile and endorse your skills. So people have gone to my profile, they'll see my skills and they'll actually say, oh yes, I know Chaim Shapiro has this skill. And then they are actually able to go and say, yes, this is the skill that Chaim Shapiro has. So you should have to list the skills. You could ask your friends to do it, or if they see it, they're actually able to go in there and endorse you for those skills. So you just need people to, here's my endorsement settings here. So you see here that I want to be, whoops, that disappeared on me there. Let's try that again. I have in my endorsement settings that I want to be endorsed, include me endorsement suggestions, which I would advise. I don't tell people to show me suggestions because I endorse people based on the fact that I know what they do. So just because it sends me a message doesn't mean I will endorse them. Because I tell people to stand behind their endorsements. If I endorse somebody, I can tell you exactly why I endorse them and what they bring to the table. Okay? So I'm going to move down. More important than even the skills is recommendations. This is an opportunity for somebody to give you an actual text-based recommendation for the skills that you have or things that you've done for them. Okay, a couple of important things here. You cannot order how these are set up. So if people give you one, you can take it off, but you can't order the sequence that they're on. Usually I try to advise people to get to between 3 and 5 recommendations. There's rumors that increases your search capabilities and people will push you up in the search rankings when you get to that 3 to 5 number. So I definitely advise people to try to get to that 3 to 5 number if they can. Nobody can post something on your profile without your permission. So you see here, I have a pending recommendation. Why do I have a pending recommendation? Because somebody tried to troll me. Perfect Liars for Free was trying to get me to post this on my profile. Now, he cannot do so because I do not actually add to my profile. Now, I could ask him for revision. There's no point because he's not going to revise it. But if you do send someone as a request for revision, they can change it themselves. You cannot make the changes for them, or I could simply dismiss it and it would disappear. I keep it here to be able to use it as an example for other people of things that you want to try to avoid when I'm giving LinkedIn workshops. Now, just to show you here quickly, if you don't already have a recommendation, go to Add Profile section. And if you go down here to the bottom, let's see where that went. Additional information, I think. There we go, request a recommendation. This will take you into the ability to request a recommendation. I could put in Jody Smolin right over here, and then it'll give me the opportunity to find how we work together, whatever it is, and send a request. It's going to come up with a generic message to her. Never send a generic message. Tell the person specifically why you're asking them for a recommendation, what you did for them, because it makes it more personal, more likely they're going to give you a recommendation. Any questions about recommendations?
One person, Elisheva, asked, are recommendations considered similar to professional references? And should we ask former coworkers and supervisors for recommendations?
That's exactly who I would ask. I see people put up their roommate in college and whatnot. Really not that valuable for people. Your coworkers, people you work for, even professors are the kinds of people you want to have here. Now, again, a lot of people aren't going to read this, but if somebody does, you don't want to have it. Yeah, I roomed with so-and-so in college for 2 years and he was a wonderful guy. It's not going to sell you in the same way as something coming from a professor or somebody who's actually supervising you. Okay, so I'm going to actually, and this is actually perfect because I was hoping this would be about 40 minutes, get into how to search for jobs on LinkedIn. And towards the end, we can get into if there are any more questions. So up here on the search tab, right over here, if I go over here, I can go into the job search board. And this gives me the opportunity to do a search by title, skill, or company. I put in a couple options here before. Let's say I'm looking for a software engineer job. Okay, and you see right here, the first one that shows up is a software engineer job at JP Morgan Chase. Now look what this shows me here. 60-minute commute and connections that I have here. Why is that important? Well, if I'm looking to apply for a job as a software engineer at JP Morgan, I could send it into what we call the slush pile of all the applications I get. Much better methodology, say, hey, who do I know works at JP Morgan? And here it says I have 56 people that work there. I can click on that and say, you know what, Sarah, let me send you a message. Hey, I'm applying for this job. You know who the hiring manager is. Can you put in a good word for me? It's a great way to make a cold lead into a warm lead. In addition, here, there are people that work at Turo. Occasionally, you run into people that from the same college or university. These are all great potential people that you could actually use to help make your cold lead into a warm lead at these companies. So before you click apply, I would definitely advise to do that. Now, if you're not connected to somebody there, you might want to send the connection request and start building those relationships. But definitely utilize the people you know in order to make your candidacy more viable. Now, I'm going to scroll down here to show you what that 60-minute commute is all about. LinkedIn added this about a year ago, I think. So I think if I move down a little bit further here, there we go. So I have my work address here as the place. And this actually shows me that by car, it's a 59-minute commute. Why is this important? Because I think LinkedIn actually gives recruiters the opportunity to exclude people based on how far away they are from the job. Because I can understand the idea that if somebody's coming from very, very far away, I'm worried that they're not going to really be dedicated to coming in on a regular basis. So this really gives you the opportunity to see how far it is and make sure that it really is a plausible opportunity. I do think LinkedIn added it just to make sure, give the recruiters the opportunity to say, yeah, we don't want somebody that's coming from way, way out in the middle of nowhere. And just to show you, obviously you can do this for any other job. I know we had some people that were studying journalism. I do journalist, and I moved down here a little bit because I don't have any connections here. I think I had a little further down. Here we go. Spectrum. Again, here I have my connections that work there, one alum from Loyola University, and those would be the people that I would reach out to before I actually apply for that digital journalist job at Spectrum. Any questions about jobs and job searching?
No.
Okay, just so you know, you can set up a job alert as well. So if you want to find journalism jobs in the United States, or even make this more specific in New York, turn this button to on. It'll send you an email on a semi-regular basis, daily or weekly, depending on what you want, whenever a job matches those criteria. Yes, there will be jobs that are mentioned multiple times because multiple boards post them, but I think it's a great way to make sure that you do not miss any jobs that are relevant to you. So
Hey,
you definitely want to.
Question.
Yes, please.
Ariel asked, how do you show that you want remote positions only? That's a great question for now.
So actually, I think the best way to do that would be under the jobs here. Open for jobs. I believe remote was one of the choices on here. Oops. Remote. So I'll just select that remote, take all the rest of those off and click save. And that will be searchable for the recruiters and people who are looking for these things, okay? So that's probably how I would do it. You could search for remote positions on in the search, you can put that in the search tab that you're looking for only remote positions. But to actually signal that to people, then I would definitely put it there under the open to job opportunities. Any other questions about that?
Somebody asked, how about social work jobs? I guess they want to know about looking for specific industries.
Yeah, so I think you can do that for literally any job. I mean, you can come up over here. You know, I was playing around with this a little bit before, social media, whatever job you want. And again, you can make this more specific because you can focus this on, I'm looking for this in New York specifically, and find it and do for any job and set that alert for those jobs. So I think it's important to check this. It might take you a little bit of time to get the search criteria right so you're getting the exact kind of jobs that you want. Then set up an alert and make sure you're getting those job applications in there so you're able to apply whenever you want. Easy apply, by the way, it just means you can apply directly with your LinkedIn profile. I happen to like this because LinkedIn profiles tend to work better with their ATS systems that a lot of companies have. A lot of times the resumes aren't really optimized for ATS, and the skills really optimize themselves well in the LinkedIn system. If you put,
Hi, we lost your audio.
I'm sorry about the audio. So I think the skills does work pretty well when it comes to that because the skills is something that you can actually search and actually utilize that as something to help break through their ATS system. I apologize about the audio problems. Does that make sense when it comes to that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how to engage people who might be of value to you. So LinkedIn added a content search recently. I go to content in the content tab right over here. I know I have a couple people who are talking about clinical research positions. I go here to clinical research, I type that in and I have that, and go to content. This is going to take me to posts by people who have mentioned clinical research in their posts recently. This is sorted by relevance, but this shows me people who posted on that. And when I checked this before, there was a person, here he is, Chief Medical Officer and EVP researcher who is talking about potential opportunities for people. You have the opportunity to go in here and make a comment on what he's saying, to like it, and really engage with this person so you build that relationship with that person. After you build that relationship with that person, what I would do is click on their account, and then you have the opportunity to send them a connection request. But more importantly, even before you do that, scroll down here and see what their recent activity was. I can see what he's been doing on LinkedIn, so I can see other places to engage him, so I build a real relationship before I make that connection request. Another thing here is a little tool here. You see here, people who viewed Mark also viewed these other people. These are probably people in the same field. This is a great opportunity to go in there and say, well, let's see if William Lacey also has job opportunities for me in clinical research, and then find opportunities to engage him as well. So this is a great way to find people. Again, you might have to play around with the search terms so you get the kind of content that you want. You can do hashtags if you want, you don't have to, but it does take playing around to get the terms exactly the way you want to. Let's try reporter and content, and you have to play around with it again until you get exactly the kinds of results that really show you what it is that you're looking for, so you start engaging the right people. Always engage people before you send the connection request. People are much more willing to accept those connection requests when you already engage with them, as opposed to just getting this cold message like, who are you? I don't know, why should I care? So I think it is very important to engage with people and build that relationship. If a person has a Twitter account, engaging them on Twitter can be a great idea because there's a lot more engagement opportunities on Twitter. For example, I'm a huge baseball fan, so anybody who's been following my baseball posts and tweets who wants to engage me can start talking about my Chicago Cubs, and that will get me very happy very quickly. And that could be a great way to build a relationship with me before they connect with me on LinkedIn. Any questions about content searches and how to do those?
Somebody asked, Michael asked, how do you remain anonymous when you search others' LinkedIn profiles, which is sort of a bit of an interesting question.
It's a great question. You can do that because you'll see here, just let me go over here to, let's try my network for that. Not showing up here. Come on now. Because I show the people who viewed my profile, should be here. Maybe I just scrolled down the page too far. And it's resetting the page. Give me 1 second here. It shows me the last people who viewed my profile. It should be right over here. There we go. Okay. So you'll see here that I see the last, and it's usually defaults to the last 5 people who have viewed your profile. I apologize for how slowly this is going at the moment. But what you can do is in your settings, and I can show you that afterwards, you can set it that nobody can see who you are. So you see here, somebody set this, that all I would see is that they're NYU School of Professional Studies, and I will not see their name. People with the title Job Recruiter also did that. Even though I have a premium account, I cannot see their names. The point is, unless you have a premium account, if you turn this on so people cannot see who you are, you will not get these reports on who actually viewed your profile. So it is a quid pro quo, so you need to make a decision as to whether you're willing to sacrifice that in order to not have people see who you are. But if you're doing a lot of research on people and you really don't want them to know that you're looking, it can make sense to turn it off for a period of time, even though you will not have access to this. Because if we had time, I was going to mention, this is a great, great, great way to connect with people who've actually looked at your profile. Somebody's looked at my profile. To me, that shows me they're very, very interested, and it's an opportunity to engage them. So I had one here, somebody was earlier today because it scrolled further down, and I get more here because I have the premium account. But you'll see here, this is a message I sent him to connect with him earlier today because we were talking about my alma mater, Northeastern Illinois University. And when you send the connection request, that actually syncs to your messages. So next time Dr. Adler and I talk, the message that I sent him when we connect will be there. So it's important to send personalized connection requests. Any other questions about that at the moment?
Some person asked, I'll tell you who it was, Alvaro asked, are there any safeguards preventing fake job listings, which I thought was also an interesting question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Unfortunately, people do it. LinkedIn does their best to eliminate them. But like anything else, there are fake profiles, there are fake job postings. Always be careful. Never give away information, over public information that you don't want people to have. Just be careful. And if it looks like a fake job, go to their website, verify it. And the website doesn't look legit, don't do it. Another big clue: if somebody's recruiting for a position at a company and they have a Gmail or Yahoo account, that's a big red flag because they should be using their company account.
Mm-hmm.
So I would stay away from those. But yes, there are always, unfortunately, people who are trying to take advantage of people who are looking for jobs. Any other questions about that?
We have another question from a little further back, if you want to answer that one.
Sure,
Somebody
absolutely.
asked, how many years back should you go on your resume? I thought that was also a good question.
Yeah, so I think there's no reason, as long as you were effective in a job, not to include more information here. I think very few people are going all the way, scrolling all the way down my profile and clicking this little show 2 more experiences button here. But if they're interested, why not tell them? So I think if you had positive experiences, put it on there. You're not limited to the 1-page sort of rule that you have on resumes. And like I said here again, the fact that I was willing and even able to do this hauling furniture stuff back in the early 90s, I think tells people a little bit about me and who I am. And I think it helps sell me. So I think, yeah, as long as it's a positive thing, positive experience, I would definitely go back and include that information. Any other questions at the moment?
Just one person asked, do you recommend, you already said we don't recommend necessarily joining LinkedIn Premium. It's not necessary. That's what you said, right?
So usually for students, it's not necessary. The only time it really becomes necessary is if you're getting a lot of people viewing your profile in one day, and this defaults to the last 5 people who viewed it. So if you're not able to check this and you're going to start missing people here, you might want to get it so you get 90 days worth. That's the only time it's worthwhile. For the vast majority of job seekers, you might be getting 5 a day. So if you check it once or twice a day, you shouldn't miss anybody. And generally what I do is, you see here, and these are ones that came in since, but I sent the connection request to Lauren, which is the last one that was there when I signed on right before this event, because she showed interest in me. That's an opportunity for me to engage with her and see what it is that possibly I can do with her. So yeah, that's the only time really it's worthwhile, is if you have that and you're getting past that limit.
Okay.
Any other questions at the moment?
One person asked, how does it impact on your profile if you have a gap between jobs?
So yeah, gaps are like anything else when it comes to resumes. I mean, it's not the best thing in the world, but you have to go with what you have. So, even if you had volunteer opportunities in the interim, that's something you can put down that you're volunteering for that period of time. If it's a true natural gap, then there's not really much you can do about it. But, it's pretty much similar to what happens on the resumes. There's no way to really do a resume that's not chronological on LinkedIn. So you're sort of stuck with it if that's the case. And look, I had a gap on my, it's a while ago, but I did have a gap for a while. And that's just the reality. It happens, unfortunately. I think people are much more aware of the fact that those things happen. They were maybe 10, 15 years ago, especially now during a COVID situation. So just go with what you have. Other questions?
Nope.
Okay. So I want to show you something here. When people want to do advanced people search, let's say I find somebody who is really, really an industry leader, because those industry leaders tend to be people who know other industry leaders. You see what I did there? I go in here, I did people search. Now I'm going here to what's called all filters. I click on this all filters button right over here. This is going to take me to an advanced search. Now what I'm showing you here is available on the free side. So let's say I want to put in a connection. We'll use Jody as the example here because she's helping me tonight.
Okay.
Jody Smolin. I'll put it in there. And look what I can do here. I can do an advanced search of who Jody Smolin knows. So I want to say, let me find who Jody Smolin knows, because she's really, let's say, an information technology expert. And let's see who she knows in information technology in the greater New York City area. If I click apply, that shows me the people that she knows or has connected to specifically in New York working in information technology. So why is this important? I like to say birds of a feather flock together. So people who are connected and on top of their fields tend to know other people who are at the top of their fields. These could be a great way to find people that you might want to connect with. And you can even drill down a little bit further than that. I can go in here and say, let's go back to all filters and say, well, it actually got rid of it. But just to show that again, I can actually do it by company as well. So we'll just try that again. Jody Smolin, Greater New York City area information. And let's see if we have, I tried IBM on here. that in there, and you'll see this is the person that she knows at IBM, and this is my opportunity because I'm also connected to message them or connect with them. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you really that's part of the session is really how to send connection requests, because the mistake that people tend to make is to send just the generic connection request, which is a big, big mistake. Not only does it sync to your messaging, but sending a personalized connection request lets people know who you are and gives them more of a reason to want to connect with you. I always, always, always recommend sending a personalized connection request. So if I were to go here, and I'm guessing some of the people here are people that are at this session. Here, this is one. She actually sent, you see here, she actually sent the message. So that way I know why she's actually reaching out to me. That's exactly the way you want to do it. When I click accept here, this is actually going to be part of my messaging with her. So there you go, look at that, just popped up right now. And when Lisa says, well, when Lisa sends me another message or I send her another message, I know exactly where I met her and how I met her. Very important. Now, I'm not complaining about the ones that didn't do that, but if you don't, that message doesn't sync and people are less likely to want to be accepting to the connection request. So always try to make sure that you're going to send the connection request with a specific directed message. Let's just show you here because I want to do this people search and just put it in here for people who are second degree, just so we can show you what that looks like if I'm sending a connection request. Okay, so if I wanted to send Mike Newman, or say it's Lawrence actually works at Turo, what I would do here is instead of clicking connect here, I would go on to her profile and click the connect button here, and then always, always click this add a note. And this gives me the opportunity to type in whatever message I want to type in here as to why I want to connect with her and why I'll be able to add value to her. And then click done and it'll send the message. You do not want to send the standard connection request because, again, it takes away the opportunity to keep that messaging, but it also takes away the likelihood that somebody's going to want to accept that message because they don't see why it is that you're reaching out to them. Okay? Any questions about that or any questions about the entire session? Because we're coming to the end and I'd like to take questions at the end for about any part of the session tonight.
Yes, so Gabriel asked from the beginning of the session when you were showing how to link your company with the logo by writing up full company name. So he says, should he leave out a work experience that has no logo?
So I wouldn't leave it out because, you know, in order to have a logo, your company actually has to make a company page here on LinkedIn. You actually see here, I have my own private consulting business, very small. I created a company page just so I can sync it with this. Yeah, but look, I have something on here that's not synced. It's the way it is the way that it is, yeah. Not every company does that, so if you don't have it, you don't have it. I wouldn't worry about it so much. Okay. Other questions?
Florence asked, should she limit her work experience in her profile only to her career field?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And the reason I like that question, because LinkedIn really doesn't allow people to show multiple areas of expertise well. I know Jody will remember this came up in our last session that we did. It really doesn't allow you to do that well. Look, as long as that's something contradictory, because there's something that we call skills that are transferable, and you're able to show that the fact that you worked in a first role like I did shows that I'm able to work hard and come to work on time. I don't see any reason not to. You know, the only question is if it's really high up and it's the job right before, you might want to not put it to have something a little bit more relevant, but then you have the concern of having that gap in the space. So that's sort of the two sides to the consideration. I don't think it hurts. Like, again, it's not like a one-page resume where you have to worry about taking old things off, especially if it's further down. I would say if it's a positive experience, put it down there.
Great. Altaz asked, if I am in the United States and want to let recruiters know in Canada that I'm looking for a job and get updates for Canadian job openings in my area of expertise, how do I make sure that Canadian recruiters are able to find me in a search?
So I would do that under the add location here. I never actually tried this, but I would say you should be able to add, and it's not working at the moment, but let's try Canada. There you go. Add Canada or Spain or whatever you like and put it in there. And that way it'll show up in the searches that the recruiters are doing for people who are looking for jobs in Canada or, you know, Quebec or wherever it happens to be.
Right.
Other questions?
I heard that making myself known to recruiters via InMail is not looked upon professionally. It seems as if I'm trying to spam them. I was wondering what your thoughts are on this and if there's another option for communicating with recruiters when their contact information is not posted on their LinkedIn page.
I love that. Thank you so much for that question. So InMail is a paid email that you can send to basically any user on LinkedIn. And yes, I do advise against sending InMail or even regular connection requests to people on LinkedIn. And the reason for that is it does look like spam. You're getting tons of messages from people all over the place all the time. they're really not going to pay attention normally to the regular message that you're sending. So I think the better methodology that we talked about before, where we actually go in here, and when I was looking under clinical research and finding that person and their profile, where they've posted, and engaging with them, because that gives me the opportunity to build a relationship with them before I reach out to them. But yeah, they do not tend to look at it very kindly if you're sending a message, hey, I'm applying for a job. The usual response would just be, okay, well, I'll apply for the job. What do you want from me? So here, I would look to Mark and look to engage on some of his posts before I send that connection request or that in-mail, because that gives them more of a reason to want to engage with me and be open to my candidacy.
Okay. Another attendee said, how often should we post and share and engage?
Great question. I tend to think you want to post at least 3 times a week, but it's always garbage in, garbage out. You want to post when you have something worthwhile saying. I personally post every day because I like to get that engagement, but it's an opportunity if you really build your brand and show who you are. You could post things like sessions that you're giving, your thoughts on an article that somebody posted. I think more important is engaging other people's posts on a regular basis. The people who are posting and engaging are the ones that tend to be most active and potentially can give you the most value as in your network. So I would be posting at least 3 times a week and engaging people as often as you can.
Okay. David asked, how do you ask someone about job opportunities with someone you haven't kept in touch with? So I guess that feels a little awkward.
Yeah, it is very awkward. And I get this all the time, by the way. People say, hey, I see you're connected to John. I'm like, yeah, I really don't know John, or I haven't spoken to him in 45 years. And for me, that's possible, by the way. I'm old enough. But anyway, the point is that, yeah, usually just because you're connected with somebody doesn't mean that they're the person who's going to be willing to or even able to make a recommendation for you. So if you can find somebody who's connected directly to the person who posted the job or the recruiting manager, those are the best things. Yeah, but definitely it's hard for people that don't know you well to want to make a recommendation for you. And there's a reason for that, by the way. When I recommend somebody, I'm putting my word and my name on the line. And I don't want to do that for somebody that I don't know well, because if he or she comes in and doesn't do a good job, that reflects poorly on me. So you definitely want to find people that you know better to make those recommendations that feel safe doing so.
Okay. Another question, are teachers a good option for LinkedIn recommendations?
I think professors and teachers, I mean, teachers in high school probably, professors would even be a better option.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also, anyone you worked for, supervisors and things like that, even coworkers that you work with, that can give people a broader perspective of who you are and what you do at work.
Okay, here's another one. This is interesting. Should hobbies be posted on LinkedIn? Because I understand interview recruiters like to discuss this.
Well, what hobbies? Yeah, look,
yeah.
They don't really have a place for hobbies,
Don't
but
have a place, right?
yeah, but I think it's a great idea. I used to not believe in having hobbies and interests on your resume. I spoke to some of the top recruiters at EY, and they're like, yeah, we love having that. It gives an extra perspective of who the person is. So if you could put it into some job descriptions or potentially under your skills, I think that's a great idea, because it gives people the opportunity to see who you are in a little bit of a broader perspective. So I definitely would include that.
Okay.
Just see, I don't even know if hobbies and interests is one of these. I don't think so. Let me take a look quickly.
I didn't see it before.
Information. I don't think so, but they should actually put that up there. But because I think that would be a cool thing. Yeah, that doesn't look like they have that. Honors and awards. Yeah, they don't have that, but they should, because it is an important thing.
Right. So Gabriel asked, if you connect with people in your current internship, could they be added to your team? I'm not sure. If you're an intern, yes.
Well, that's up to you and up to them. You can actually add people. Yeah, you can actually add people to your team. I'm not going to get into that at the moment, but basically LinkedIn added a new section where you can add teammates to your network, the people that you're actually working with that are part of your team. You see here, the one teammate that I have here is Jody Smolin, but I can also add other people, and it's up to them to accept it or not accept it. And really the point of this is so you're able to message people in the same place and see all the people you're working with in the same place. I don't think it adds that much value for most professionals who are working very closely together. It might be a way to do for interns to keep in touch with people after the internship. So there could be some value to that, but they have to accept you as a teammate. You can't just put someone down as a teammate.
Right.
Any other questions?
Somebody asked, is the recording going to be made available to everyone who registered, or they have to request it?
So I set up an automated email that's be sent out tomorrow. My goal is to have this edited by July 1st. And if you send me an email after that point, you'll get the automated email from me a little bit later tomorrow. I'll be happy to send you the recording, assuming that it comes out. Last time we had a little bit of a problem with it, but I do believe the recording should be fine this time.
Great.
Other questions? We're exactly an hour, but I'm happy to go a little extra if anybody has any other questions.
A few people asked about volunteer work. I think we sort of skipped that, but that is a separate section on the.
You can add volunteer, yes, you absolutely can add volunteer to your section here. Volunteer experience, I think it's a great thing to add if you have significant volunteer experience, because it also shows that you're interested in doing other things. Volunteer experience. I have one added here. Click the plus button, add it. I treat it the same way I would treat anything else. Tell me what you did there. Sync it to whatever it is, whatever the particular organization is, and that way people can see that you're volunteering. I think it gives people a broader perspective of the fact that you care more than just the job, and you're willing to do other things as well. And just so you saw, but there are other things you can put on here, under accomplishments, honors and awards, courses. I usually advise the courses, if you're putting courses on here, advanced level stuff that recruiters want to make sure you took before they're willing to actually hire you for a job. This isn't like, I took intro to accounting. This would be the more advanced accounting classes. And test scores wouldn't be, I got a 95 on biology midterm. It'd be CPA exam scores and things like that. Other questions?
Yes. 1 second here. Oh, so a few people asked about the LinkedIn ratings, All-Star, Intermediate, and how that affects searches. What are they asking about?
Yeah, so I think LinkedIn, well, they're basically asking, LinkedIn sets up and it tells you whether you're a LinkedIn All-Star, where it's based on the completedness of your profile. There is some belief that does impact how far they put you up in the search rankings, and the goal is really to get to that All-Star status, but it's not hard to do. If you fill in the information, it's going to do it for you. It's not that the content is great. It really more focused on the fact that you have all of the fields that they're interested in filled out.
Got it.
Other questions?
Somebody asked when your next LinkedIn webinar is. That was Paul.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, I'm always available to do this. I'll see, what the reaction was to this one, and we'll try to schedule something else. I'm actually currently working with one of my alma maters on presenting one there, and we'll see if we'll have that open to the public as well.
Okay, great. We had just got a few right this second. Let me just see.
Perfect.
Ariel said, when you leave a job and put an end date on it, does it decrease you from All-Star to Intermediate? Oh, he's asking, does the content change your status?
I don't know the answer to that specifically because I haven't seen that actually put in practice. It might, but I think if you just have the job there, it probably won't. The bigger concern is that it doesn't have an active job. So it's always better to have an active job on there if you can. I don't know if it affects the Intermediate to All-Star status, but always better to have an active job or active volunteer experience on there if you can.
Okay. Under the licenses and certifications section, how can I ensure that the most important ones are visible before you need to see the select more tab? You just type those first, right?
Yeah, I think you type. I think I believe it's in order of how you did it, and I believe the last ones you put in are the ones that actually show up first. So I'd put my guess is to put in the ones that are most important last. That's usually how these things work. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. They should make it easier to change those around, but they don't for some reason.
Right. Okay, and so a few people said thank you, which is very nice. And one person, one last question here. How likely are recruiters from major companies with thousands of applicants to review an individual's LinkedIn profile?
So I think there are a few things that are in play here. So I think the idea is that if you're under serious consideration, the recruiting manager, whoever's going to be interviewing you, is going to be checking your LinkedIn profile. You want to make sure it's optimized. Now, obviously, they're getting hundreds and thousands of applications. They go through computers. The computer's not checking your LinkedIn profile. When it gets to the point where somebody's really interested in you, that's where you want to make sure that when they look at your profile, they say, oh, yeah, she's an excellent candidate because she has an optimized LinkedIn profile that sells to her in all the best possible ways. So it's worthwhile having, because when you get to that stage, it does make a difference. There's no question about it. Plus, in general, if people are Googling you or looking you up, you want to be able to control the information that's out there about you. And the best way to control the conversation about you is to have a winning LinkedIn profile.
Okay, great. And Afaf, Ken, and Sharzad all said thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
I don't think so. That's just everyone asking when the recording will be sent. So an automated email will go out, and then
automated email, and email me after July 1st. I just want to make sure the editor is able to go through it and get these things set up in the way that we need to get it set up. And we should be able to send that out as a personal email to everyone. Plus, I'm almost positive I'll be posting it on my LinkedIn account, so you'll be able to pull it off of there as well. Well, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate the opportunity to present this to you today. I really do appreciate your paying attention. You asked some great questions. I do want to give a round of applause to Jody for reading the questions. She did an excellent job facilitating. Makes my life a lot easier because it's difficult to read the questions while we're doing it. But thank you so much, and I do hope to have the recording soon. So I'm going to sign off now. Thank you so much.